Uh-huh. Got you back. Right. Now.
Natalie,
Yes, ma'am.
you can teach her to be shady down here. I gotta be shady?
Good evening.
Oh, look, I got a family picture.
Are there any public comments? Are there any public comments? Are there any public comments? In that there are none, the meeting is officially called to order. At this time, Ms. Colquitt, you may call the roll.
Mrs. Williams,
Present.
Mrs. Walker,
Here.
Dr. Reddas,
Here.
Mrs. McLean,
Here.
Mrs. Temple,
Here.
Ms. Person West,
Present.
Mr. Still.
At this time, we will have executive session. Executives, at this time, executive session, the executive closed section per North Rock Policy 114A stating that private or closed discussions by the board may occur as part of a regular or special board meeting. Executive sessions may be held only for the purpose of considering employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, or resignations of an employee, or to discuss matters of pupil punishment if requested by the parent or legal guardian. Move for executive session.
Action item 5.1, Madam President, members of our Board of Education, the superintendent recommends the employment of personnel as discussed in executive closed session.
Motion?
Madam President,
Yes.
I move that we accept Dr. Paluski's recommendation as it relates to our executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we accept the recommendation of the employment of personnel. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None. The motion is carried.
Thank you, Madam President. Our next agenda item is 5.2, the North Little Rock High School Arena HVAC architectural contract approval. I will invite my colleague, Mr. Brian Brown, and Mr. Brom Cahey from Taggart Architects to give us a brief overview of this action item.
Thank you, Dr. Paluski and
Yes,
members of the board. As you all know, we've been discussing HVAC in the arena for years, but we've got I'm bringing you a plan of action that will, that has actually been very good for the district. We applied to ADE for using ESSER funds to fund this project, and they approved it. And the ESSER fund application was to improve the air quality in the arena by using HVAC to do that. And we would include in that MERV 13 air filtration. And right now the air filtration in there is 0. It's not being filtered because we're just heating air during the winter months that is in there to keep the climate active, and then during the summer months we're running those draw fans that draws the heat out. So there's no actual filtration and air circulation and air turnover in the building. So this fit in perfectly with the ESSER funding guidelines, and ADE has approved that. Now, in addition to that, we also made application to ADE Facilities, and ADE Facilities has agreed to fund $580,000 of the project. So while we received approval to use 100% ESSER funds to do this, we will have to use less than half of ESSER funding to do this. So we've got ADE facility funding to fund this, and then the remaining balance will be funded out of ESSER. Now there is structural modifications that have to be made to add HVAC. So there's demolition. They have to take out the existing heating structure, and then they'll have to add some structural content in there to house the new HVAC system. So we've employed Taggart. We've tasked them for that help, the architectural and the engineering help that would be needed for this project. They'll also handle all the bidding for this. So what we're bringing for you tonight is the approval of Taggart's architectural contract, which is at 7% of the, that's the market right now. 7% of the total cost of the project would be their fee. So we're bringing that to you tonight for approval.
Okay, questions, Ms. McClone?
Since we won't be using all the ESSER money, does that mean we have some ESSER money we can use towards something else, or did I misunderstand that?
No. Oh, well, we had budgeted, yes, to your, yes. So we had set aside ESSER. We had a preliminary budget that we had submitted to ADE for ESSER ARP funding, and part of that was reserved for facilities use. So since we're using less ESSER money than we had planned for this, that either frees up money for additional facilities or it can be transferred and used for different reasons. So it's all at district control under that.
Great.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
What's our time frame? So say hypothetically we approve it tonight. What's it look like as far as starting?
So Taggart they've done all the drawings for this project. Where we were just discussing, he has an advertisement ready to go once the board approves this. It'll go out, I believe, this Sunday, and then we have bids that would be due on February the 2nd. We would open bids here
Okay.
in the high school. Let me let Brom answer the timeline. How about that?
Yeah, that's good. You were doing so well. Hi, I'm Brom Cahey with Taggart Architects. Thank you for letting me be here. So the timeline is the gym becomes available to us in March. The athletic director said that there won't be any competitions or use of the gym. So that's our goal, is to have materials here and start doing some of the work starting in March. That will be available to us. Now, the ordering the mechanical units is a wild card. We don't know how long those things will take to order because of supply chain.
Right.
So to put a definite date on it, I'm not sure because of that large equipment order. But once we get that equipment, it's about a 3-month project. So hopefully it'll be done. It will be done, but during the summer.
Okay, so just for clarification, what I'm understanding is that once we approve this, if we approve it, we're locked in and we're starting to order our supplies that we need for this operation to happen.
Well, there's a process before that. We go out for bids for contractors to look at the project and to offer their budgets, their bid for the job.
Yep.
And so once that low bid or that person is selected, that company is selected, it will come back before the board for you to approve that amount. And then once that's approved, then things will begin ordering and begin procuring that equipment.
And
So,
February 2nd is the deadline.
Assuming approval tonight,
Yep.
we will open bids on February the 2nd. We will bring all the results of those bids back to the board for you all to approve at that point.
Just thinking the time frame and knowing the supply chain demand. Okay.
Dr. Reddish,
I'm good, thank you.
Mrs. Temple?
I'm just a little bit confused. You said that there'd be a flat rate of 7% of the project cost, and then in the contract there's rates, hourly rates for stuff. So how does I don't see a total cost.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It depends on the construction amount, so that's the variable. So when we get the bids in, and it's 7% of that construction cost of what the contractor says it's going to take for them to build. And the hourly amounts that are in there are if there are any changes, if there are any additional services that are required, that's when the hourly rates will come into
So
effect.
if the district changes the scope, if we ask them to do additional work beyond the scope of the initial project, that's where the hourly rates kick in.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. West?
As far as the work that is going to be done, I guess I just want to make sure that there will be some type of guarantee on it, and it's not going to be one of those things, oh my gosh, a year, the whole system has failed, and now we got to come back and, and shell out some more money for it. So I just want to make sure that, since you will be the person in charge, you'll oversee this project and make sure that things are done right, and you do right by North Little Rock School District, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And all the equipment will be warranted for a period of time, at least a year for the installation, and the mechanical units will have warranty periods on different components that they have. So yeah, that system will be warranted for anywhere between 1 and 5 years, depending on the component. And I have faith in our design team and our professional engineers to design a system appropriate for the gymnasium. So yeah, I'm with you.
Now, when you say as far as the warranted for like a year, is it kind of like you have like a tiered type warranty as far as like maybe we're only after that year, it's like maybe we're responsible for maybe like a 20% of that, or maybe like a kind of tier out like that. The longer that it's installed, it's kind of it'll work towards that type of as far as a percentage, or you have to buy something all over again. How does that work?
Usually the warranted parts are for a certain set of time. It's similar to a car. Your car has a warranty of 5 years, but the engine and drivetrain have warranties for longer. just based on what they do. You know, they don't break down as much. But when the car or the mechanical system gets out of warranty and that part is not covered under warranty again or anymore, then that's a component that is replaced by the district.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Walker.
I apologize, I have a follow-up. So when we put out these bids and we're looking for this new equipment and people to come in and do this, we're going to make sure that it's compatible with our systems that we have currently running. And then we're going to make sure that Synergistics, who overrides our stuff and make sure that we're saving $1, we're going to make sure that's compatible. And then we're also going to make sure that our security can get into it, worst case scenario in case of a tragedy. So we're going to make sure it's compatible with all of our systems in place right now is my question.
Yes, ma'am. That's where we started. It's like we worked with the controls system that's in place for the district and particularly the high school, and are geared to match that and to be integrated with that system. So yes, ma'am, that's where we started, is we wanted to be fully integrated
Right.
and not foreign to what the district is doing so far.
Right, okay, that's very good.
I would like to hear from our superintendent, his statement on that.
Yeah, I think, you know, just as we've talked about, Ms. Williams and members of our board, I think that one of the things that we've learned when we did a lot of our construction in the past is we had different vendors, we had, you know, different systems, and that they're not compatible to one another. So we're trying to do the very best that we can to ensure that integration is thought out ahead of time. And I know with our maintenance department, with our architects, that we're trying to be systemic and making sure, because we want it to be efficient, but we also want to be good stewards of the resources as well.
Thank you. Are there other comments? Okay, at this time, I know that the superintendent recommends the approval of the architect contract and Taggart's architect for the North Rock High School remodeling and improvement. But you can remember, Mr. Brown, in the past, the reason we never approved this, we wanted to make sure that our students were first. And now with Dr. Paluski on board, he's making sure that this is being done and has been taken care of. So without further delay, those of you, would you please put it to a motion, a board member?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the architect contract with Taggart Architects for the North Florida High School HVAC remodel and improvement.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the approval of the architect contract, Taggart's Architect into the North Rock remodeling and improvement of the high school air conditioning system. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So the motion has been carried. And thank you for coming, sir.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Mr.
Thank
Brown.
y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Have a good evening.
At this time, we will have a move for the adjournment.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn and go into workshop.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we adjourn and go directly into our workshop. Thank you. Okay,
Madam President, members of our Board of Education, our first information item is 1.1, and that's the Rock Region Metro Fair Agreement. And I want to welcome Mr. Avery and Ms. Hunter. And I want to thank Ms. Person West, who I got the introduction to meet our friends from Rock Region Metro. And we started a conversation about creating a partnership. And they're here to share some information which we believe will support our students above and beyond. Mr. Avery, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Paluski, and thank you, board members, for this opportunity to share with you really a great opportunity, I think, for your high school students here today. And I would like to echo what Dr. Paluski said. A big shout out and a thank you for Ms. Person West for kind of facilitating these conversations, getting the ball rolling, and ultimately getting us to where we are today. And so I briefly want to talk about what this agreement is, what we're trying to accomplish, and ultimately the benefit it'll bring to your students there in North Little Rock High School and the students, the high school students over at the Academy in East Little Rock too. So if you'll briefly just bear with me as I walk through this presentation here. As always, before I do anything, and I think this is extremely important, especially when we're talking about students, I like to share with my audience what our mission statement is at Rock Region Metro. And just real briefly, I think each of y'all know Rock Region Metro is the public transit agency here in Pulaski County, and we are the largest transit agency in Arkansas. We carry about 2.5 million passengers a year, and we have, I believe, 4 routes in North Little Rock, 3 microtransit zones right now, and I'll go in briefly what those are here in a bit. But our mission statement is simple. It's to provide safe, reliable, convenient, and cost-effective transit service with a skilled team of employees dedicated to our customers' needs and committed to excellence. And those 4 points are extremely important: safe, reliable, convenient, and cost-effective transit service. This map right here is the majority of this map, actually, is the map of North Little Rock. The routes we have, it's kind of hard to see. If you have a computer, maybe you can kind of zoom in and see where the high school is located there. There are 2 routes that serve that directly. That is our Route 4, which is our Levy-Amboy route, and our Route 10, which is our McCain Mall route. Over there in West North Little Rock is our Route 13. That's our Pulaski Tech route. And over there in East Little Rock, that goes through the Shorter College area up to McAlmont. That is our McAlmont route, or Route 18. Unfortunately, I'm colorblind, so I can't tell exactly what colors they are, but there are zones there. Up there in Levy-Amboy, I believe I'm going to call it yellow. It is a microtransit zone. We also have a microtransit zone there in Shorter College. I'll call that blue. And then the microtransit zone over in East North Little Rock, the McAlmont area, we'll call that green. 3 microtransit zones that serve, and what that is, it's pretty simple. It's Uber-like. So if you're within that zone, you can hail a ride. It can come pick you up at your destination. If it's your house, it'll pick you up at your front door and take you anywhere within that area for $1.35. Same cost as it is to ride our fixed route system. So again, you have 3 of those microtransit zones. And I do want to point out, I think, board members probably recognize this immediately. Over there in East Little Rock, or East North Little Rock in the Rose City area, there is the Academy. And that group of individuals are included in this fare agreement. However, you can see right now we do not have service that directly serves that area. It is our plan, it is the City of North Little Rock's plan that in June 2023 we will launch our Rose City microtransit zone. And so we'll be working with them through planning to see exactly what that looks like, but it will encompass and it will cover those students there at that location. Moving on, just real briefly what this is. We have roughly 5 or 6 participants right now in our UPass program. We have proposed to North Little Rock School District to pay a flat $8,000 a year fee for all North Little Rock School District high school students to ride our buses and our microtransit zone vehicles fare free. So we will send an invoice. The way this will work, we'll send an invoice monthly to the district. It'll be paid, and then those individuals are covered under that program. Will be able to board our bus, show their North Little Rock School District ID. That'll have this special sticker. It's a security sticker. It allows us to control fare fraud and understand that these individuals are still active students within the school district. It'll allow them to ride that bus or that microtransit van fare free. That's all they have to do. Walk on the bus, walk on the vehicle, flash that ID, they get the board, and they get to go anywhere within North Little Rock, anywhere within Little Rock 2. Anywhere on our system, they're allowed to ride fare free. And this is especially important, not just during the school year to get you to school, but especially for high school students who have summer jobs. They're able to move around freely and be able to access those opportunities during the summer and throughout the year. Again, benefits include providing all these students with basic transportation, regardless of their background, for any trip purpose, school, extracurricular activities, weekend activities, summer activities, jobs, things like that, at a heavily subsidized rate. Right now we have, I believe the total amount is roughly 2,400 students included in this agreement at $8,000 a year. Pretty simple math would tell you that is heavily discounted per student to be able to ride our bus system fare free. So again, I would love to take questions, talk about this a little bit more if you have some for me, but I would love to just really say again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited about this opportunity for your students. I've been at Rock Region Metro for 10 years, and I've been trying to get a fair agreement with North Little Rock School District for about 5 years. And I am very excited about the opportunity to be able to, one, be up here and present this to you, but two, to be able to get the ball rolling and get this contract signed.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Do you have this agreement with other school districts in Pulaski County?
Yes, we have it with Little Rock School District. We have it with some charter schools too within North Little Rock and Little Rock. also. It's about 6 other educational, and we have it with UA Pulaski Tech also.
So what kind of participation do you have in those districts? Is it like 60% of the high school kids use this transit system, or do you have any stats on that?
I don't have like the actual utilization. We do have ridership stats, and of course it varies based on the educational institution. College students, for example, tend to use it more as they're kind of looking for that freedom of mobility. We actually have a contract with Little Rock School District, and it is for each student, so that's K through 12. Every student, and you can imagine there's a varying, degree of usage up and down. But I would be happy to share, all that ridership information is public. But it ranges from, significant usage. We have a contract with eSTEM, and so their students ride our buses fare free. There's some good usage there, and it varies again from participant to participant. But I can't unfortunately say, 40, 50, 60%. It kind of varies depending on what institution it is. But we have significant usage in all of our contracts.
Have we done a survey of our students to see if they would use this?
We have not, and what we were thinking is potentially to be able to pilot this for a year. That's why we started with kind of 9 through 12. I was very adamant that we get a route to the academy. Often those students are forgotten about. We all know that transportation can be a barrier. So we still provide public transportation to all of our students. This we thought would be an enhancement above and beyond. So that's where we thought we would pilot. The cost is relatively cheap at $8,000, and we want to be able to look at that data of the usage to determine are our students taking advantage of it. The upside is about this as well, as Mr. Avery said, it's on the weekends, it's in the summertime. Often when we listen to high school students that some of the reason why they can't have internships is because transportation is a barrier. So I think for us, it was just one avenue to look at how do we remove a barrier for some of our most needy students that we know need transportation. But if we go forward with this, I think one of the things that we will do is certainly provide that kind of data usage that you asked Mr. Avery about, because that was one of my first questions with him is, how can we make sure that we track this? I think it's something we can put in our weekly board report so you can kind of see how often our high school students are using it.
Yeah.
So if they're going to show their card, would that be like scanning their card, or
No,
how would
no.
you keep up with that?
And so what it is, your ID will have a special sticker. Right now, I believe it is a red security sticker. It's tamper-proof, which means you can't take that off your ID and give it to your buddy who graduated last year but still has their student ID, right? It allows us to control that potential fare evasion. And so you'll flash it to our operator. They'll verify. Each one of them has a cheat sheet, is what we call it. They'll verify that that's an active North Little Rock School District ID, and it'll have a year on there saying that 2022 to 2023, and we'll know that's an active student, and they'll be able to board the buses and the vans again for fare free. We track ridership through our fare box, so when you get on the bus, we hit a special button dedicated to your school district, and we provide monthly ridership reports to our participants. And it's broken down by route, so you can see where your students are traveling from and what routes they're using the most.
So we would just pay you 12 divided into 8,000. We're going to pay you monthly.
Correct. And I mean, if you want to pay in one lump sum, that's always better too, right? I mean,
What hours do you operate?
so we're Monday through Sunday. We start operations around 6 o'clock in the morning. Some routes run earlier because they're longer. We have to pulse out. I'm not going to get into logistics of transit, but around 6 to 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are a little bit shorter. I believe it's 8 to 5 for right now, and that's with our limited service we currently have. We're looking at some expansion in our fixed route system in the near future.
So the latest you run would be what?
It's about 8 p.m. Well,
8
Monday
p.m.
through Friday, it's about 8 p.m. Yep.
Okay. Ms. Walker?
I think this is great. I know Ms. Riggins has been asking for something like this for our unhoused children for at least 4 years that I'm aware of, so I think this is a great program. I think it's a start. I like that we can collect the data to see what we need, where our children are, and what they're utilizing it with. So I think it's great. I am a little concerned about the hours. 6 a.m. is great, that's fine, but the 8 p.m., just, I know as having a teenager, she doesn't get off until 10 p.m. sometimes. And so I'm sitting in the parking lot picking her up. So that is a concern, but if they can get there, great, and then maybe figure out a way to get home, that's something that I'm hoping is a less barrier for them. But I'm all on board, and good job on answering all my questions, Sissy. You asked all my questions. Good job.
You're welcome.
Dr. Redis.
You answered most of all my questions. But what happens, or what can we do about, we have some students that have children.
Yep.
Or they have siblings that they have to take care of. That's in the 9th through 12th grade. Is there anything that, I mean, will they be charged? How, you know?
So we
what
have an
can we
age
do?
limit. I don't want to give a firm number. Is it less than 4 they can ride for free? Yeah, kids less than. Yeah, 4 or younger can ride for free on our fixed route system. So what I'm hearing is we may have some high school students who have children of their own, so those individuals will be able to ride for free. And we have a reduced child rate too. It's 60 cents a ride instead of the normal, or 65 cents a ride instead of a normal $1.35. So we've got discounted fares out there for smaller children.
We also have that agreement with the Central Arkansas Library System.
Come on up to the mic,
Yeah.
Becca.
And they
Becca, come to the mic.
We also have an agreement with the Central Arkansas Library System, and they are specifically targeting mothers of young children, primarily that are pre-preschool age, if you will, so 0 to 4, and younger children, because they want to target them for literacy groups. So that would be a perfect opportunity, I think, to get that student connected to the library system so they could get a pass from the library system.
Thank you.
Mrs. Temple?
Dr. P, have you talked with the student body council about this at all? Has that come up in any of your meetings?
I have not, but we can certainly bring it up with our Student Advisory Council, Mr. Barnes and I. Be happy to.
Ms. West?
I don't have any questions. I just have a couple of comments. Just my rationalization, I think it would be a good thing, just with, you know, what Ms. Wonkam's saying, you know, most students, if they have a part-time job, they get off a little bit later than 8 o'clock. However, that may remove some of the barrier because they can ride the bus to work, which would allow mom or dad or big sister, whomever, to get, you know, out of work or whatever they're doing for the evening to get there, that, you know, pick them up at 10 o'clock or what have you. But, you know, you just kind of always look at different solutions to different problems or issues. And I just kind of always looked at this as like a barrier, you know, another barrier removed. Like, okay, why are you not working a part-time job? Or, you know, if you do have desire while you're in high school to maybe take a class during the summertime at Pulaski Tech, you're able to do so now to further yourself and to make yourself better. Then that to me is definitely a good idea and a good choice. So I, for example, rode the microtransit. Did I ride that? Okay. This summer. And I had an opportunity to ride that. Good, clean. I was shocked. Good, clean little ride there. It's the shorter bus. And I had no issues. And I, you know, feel confident that I could at least get from my house to Starbucks with no issues. So I guess I do have a question. Once they get this particular pass or the privilege to ride the bus, they get a schedule for their particular area, or their some type of way maybe education can happen, or how does that work?
Yeah, we can, and Becca really spearheads this. We could do some training, some MASH training for the students. We also have all of our materials and resources on our website. We'll provide that to Dr. Paluski, who can disseminate that to the student body and make sure they're fully equipped with all the information it needs. It has bus schedules, bus maps, all that. We also are kind of tech savvy right now. We've got an app
Yeah,
that
I got
shows
the app.
real-time information, right? So we're moving up there in that direction. And we're also looking at some significant technology upgrades later this year, too, that'll have some more reliable on-time information for our buses and things like that for individuals to use. So we've got plenty of resources that we can pass out, and we can absolutely set up some type of training or provide some type of video that helps individuals walk through how to board a bus, you know, the little things. If you don't have experience with public transit, right, you need a little bit of training. And so that's something we can provide for sure.
And I may be putting you on the spot with this. However, what is 7 of us, 8, Dr. 9, Rhonda, we got to do a ride day.
We got to do that. And
then give
I
us
love
a chance to ride
yes.
the micro transit.
I love the question about extending hours too, because I'm going to use that narrative when we are going to the City Council of North Little Rock and Little Rock and asking for more money. That is a testimony that I think needs to be shared. I think that's perfect for that. So yes, we'll schedule a ride along. I think everyone needs to experience that, especially the micro transit service, and see how reliable it is, how convenient it is, and how it really connects with our fixed route system and provides some additional mobility.
I just thought of another question.
Okay.
Do y'all have cameras on these buses?
We do. We've got cameras, and soon on our microtransit, all fixed route has free Wi-Fi, and our microtransit vans soon will all have free Wi-Fi too. We're working through the logistics of that. So, you know, if you want to get on there and work some, answer some emails, do your math homework, you know, all that kind of stuff that I know high school kids do at the last minute, you have that opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, but no. Dr. Paluski, as you previously heard him state about what the board has recommended about student body, getting students involved in the process, because their ideas too would be beneficial to us when it comes back, because it's just an informational piece. And when the superintendent has collaborated with you after doing what he's heard the board requested, we will be seeing you. And we certainly thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And the young lady who was with you. And Dr. Paluski, do you have any final words on that?
Just a point of clarification, Ms. Williams, from yourself and the board, just the direction to provide me. This isn't an action item because it's less than 20,000, it's only 8,000, but if you want us to hold off, have more conversations with our students or survey before we launch into this, I'll be happy to do it. Or to proceed, we'll, you know, continue to monitor the data. I just, you know, just to give me some direction, if you'd rather us pause and do a little more work.
Okay, I did hear Ms. Temple. She had some concerns, and Ms. West. So Ms. West.
No, my concerns just was the extending the time till, you know, past the 8 o'clock. But I was just saying, I do believe that it will be a good thing, because if children do want to take classes in the summertime, or if they want to maybe get a jump start on college, this will be a good time for them to do that. And, or if they need, you know, rides in the summertime to get like meals or whatever, for them or their siblings, that's a barrier that we're also removing too.
Okay.
So those are my only
Concerns.
thoughts.
Ms. Temple.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the students were interested. I'm sure they will be, but I mean, I'd hate to spend the money and it doesn't get used.
So we just need to make sure we communicate to our community, our high school students.
That it's available.
That
Yeah.
it's available. And that overall, we're also helping big picture to reduce the carbon footprint. I mean, that's another way that we can advertise this. You know, not only are we giving them access to transportation, but overall, we're also helping to reduce the carbon footprint. And I think our students are more aware of the environment today than when I was growing up.
Yeah, me
I
too.
can say that.
Me too, yeah.
So I think that's a great aspect.
And go ahead.
Okay, Mrs.
I was just wondering, I mean, are we going to need students to have parents' written permission for them to be using this? And would that be something we would do, or something that sort of contract they would have, or?
Well, public transit is open to the public, so we do not ask individuals. We have individuals as young as 5 and 6 ride our buses. It is an opportunity to access, different opportunities that you don't have. So we do not have a waiver we require. If they're eligible, if they have that sticker, we trust that they're an active student and they're able to access our public service.
Would
I
we
Go ahead.
want to have something like that?
Kind of refer to Mr. Brown. I don't believe, because it's a public, even though we're providing it, it's a public entity, that there wouldn't be any liability, because it would be based upon the individual. Of course, parents would have to be aware of it, that this is being provided to their, certainly I guess a parent could opt out. I guess that could be an option if they don't want their child to have free public education.
Transportation, not education. Transportation. He didn't mean that public. Let's clarify that. Transportation.
But I do think that providing adequate training, that we'd want to make sure that all of our students knew how to access, we were aware of it. But I guess we probably could come up
Or
with
where
something.
like the stop was, like just for that example, for that Saturday when I rode it, I was able to download the app. I was able to request the ride back to where we were meeting up that particular day, and it was super easy. But I've never ridden public transportation before. That was my first time.
Sure.
So.
But if it's, if it's the will of the board, if you want us to do more, which we haven't done a survey to our parents, nor have we done it to our students, if you'd rather us do that first and bring that information back, we'll be happy to do that. We just wanted to bring this to you because we thought it was a great partnership, and we all know that transportation can be a barrier outside of what we already provide. So if that's the will of the board, if you want us to do a survey to parents and students, high school, we'll be happy to do it.
How quickly can that be done, I guess?
Oh, well, you've heard the will of the board.
We'll collect some more information.
Yes.
Ms. Williams will be happy to bring that back just as an information item. Again, because of the cost, it doesn't require board approval because it's not over 20, but
No.
we'll be happy to provide that, collect that information, and come back at a future board meeting, possibly the next board meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there other questions? Again, thank you, Mr. Metro.
Thank you. Thank you, board
All
members.
right. And the lovely lady.
I'll take that. Yeah.
All right.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Avery. Thank you, Sonia. Our next information item is 1.2, and just to do a very quick overview of the 23-24 school choice options, I welcome my dear colleague, Dr. Tori Hooper, our fabulous and wonderful Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Leanne Stoll, Executive Director of Special Services, and the newest member to the North Little Rock family, Mr. Gary Logan, making his first appearance tonight as the new Executive Director of Student-Centered Support Services. So we welcome our team, and Mr. Logan publicly welcome to North Little Rock.
Thank you, sir. So good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Paluski. The purpose of this presentation is to go over the options of school choice in the North Little Rock School District. However, before we get started, I know that Mr. Logan just came on, so first of all, I want to recognize the school board for the award that you all received from the state of Arkansas, recognizing the board on the job well done. That is a very hard accomplishment, so I just want to say congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
The second thing I wanted to do was just recognize all of the hard work from the team as Mr. Stone had transitioned into his next phase of his career with Dr. Stoll, Ms. Hale, Chief Finks, Dr. Reynolds, the principals, Ms. Betty, Ms. Robin, and the executive directors. throughout this vacancy, we have definitely worked as a team to ensure that we do what's right for students. And if we did not have an answer, we would just pause, and we would always reflect on the systems that we have in place within the district and always keep Dr. Paluski in the loop. However, as we go through this process, I just want you all to know that we are trying to refine and retune our systems that are in place. All righty. All righty, so again, just to review the school enrollment options that are provided within the district. And to recruit more families from the North Little Rock School District that may be going to charter schools, and for them to be aware of the options that we have available. So there are 4 types of options that we have, which many of you all already know: the legal transfer, teacher's choice, school choice, and the intra-district. With the legal transfer option, this is when a student of a parent wants to transfer into the school district that are not zoned to us. However, with this option, the parent has to get the approval from their home school district school board along with our school board. Both of those have to be approved from both school boards. Also, as you can see, those numbers are provided to you from this current school year and from the past 21-22 school year. Staff choice option, that is just when we have an employee of the school district that may be wanting their own child to attend the school district, and once granted, they do have the option of staying within the school district until they graduate. Again, those numbers are provided for you for this current school year, as well as the 21-22 school year. A school choice option is when, again, you have parents that may be outside of our boundaries, as you can see from other school districts such as Little Rock, Sherwood, so forth and so on. They do apply for school choice, and that also has to be approved from their school board along with ours. And once approved, they do have the option of staying. And I also want to mention that transportation is not provided with these school options, so I do want to put that out there. And the last school option or choice option is when we actually have parents within our school district that may want to consider moving to a different school. That is available, however, that is based on if there is availability at that specific school. And so what you see here are the total number of applicants by grade level from this past school year, and the step-by-step assignment procedures. We did not modify anything from the past or the previous school years. As you can tell, what we do is go by the state guidelines in terms of the maximum number of students that are allowed per class and per grade. And we also look at the number of sections that we have available at each campus, and we total those numbers up. And then what we do is look at the total number of seats we have available. We also look at our zone students. We look at the number of applicants, and we try to adjust. But this is part of the step-by-step procedures. In addition to this, this goes a little bit more on a detailed level. So the first thing that we do, of course, is look at our zone students. And we also look at the possibility of families moving into the school district or within that specific neighborhood. From there, we prioritize. We look at the school choice, and then we look at legal transfers and also teacher's choice. And then finally, we look at the intra-district. And what I do just want to make note of is that actually the application process opened up this past Tuesday, and it will close May 1st. And so in conclusion, We always want to do what's in the best interest of all students. We want to try to make that as seamless as possible. Again, excuse me, the window's open from January 2nd to May 1st, and we're actually going to have our first school showcase fair, which will be held Saturday, January 28th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
I just wanted to add, Miss Robin McCarroll and Miss Betty Bradford, because the team, we were working all together, and I know when I was stepping in and helping, I had very limited knowledge about student services. I've learned a lot, but those two ladies really guided that department. I wanted to throw them in as a big thank you, because they know so much about it that they really helped those of us who were helping out that didn't understand all the processes, so they deserve a big shout out too.
Are you through? Ms. Valerie? No questions?
No questions.
Ms. Welcome?
In addition to the showcase, is there another form of communication that we're going out for the community and just our stakeholders, Sherwood, Maumelle, how do they know that they can come into our district? How are we doing that?
That's a good question. So in addition to the showcase that's face-to-face, Dr. Paluski also recommended that we do a virtual round of this, and then that way we can publicize via social media. We're also looking to putting on billboards. So we're definitely trying to get the word out to recruit.
You ready?
What's the timeline to find out if you've been approved?
Great question. So once that window closes on May 1st, so we're also going to be trying to prioritize based on our zone students throughout the process. So it's not just we're going to wait till the last minute. However, as we're prioritizing, that window closes. As soon as that window closes, what we're going to do is begin sending out letters the middle of May. So around May 15th is the proposed date.
I'm not sure if you would know this, but how does that affect an athlete?
I would have to get back to you on that, but can you be a little bit more specific?
Say, what specifically, I had a parent that's interested in walked her through the application process, but I know that her child plays football. And during the summer months is when off-season football begins, practices and all that. So he plays for another school now, so to be able to play for North Little Rock, you're waiting on the letter saying you're coming, if I'm making sense.
Correct.
And so I was just wondering how that affects that, how that works, so that, you know, a parent would know or the child would know.
So currently they're outside our boundaries. They will go through the application process. And from there, again, it closes May 1st, so they wouldn't know until that second or third week of May. So hopefully that would be before the summer begins.
Gotcha.
And
Thank
before
you.
the end of the academic year, so they
Ms.
would
Temple.
know.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I've probably forgotten this, but didn't we last year have someone come in, a consultant that we had?
We did.
Did we ever find out the results of how all? I don't know. I don't remember ever hearing back on how.
I think we shared those in a weekly board report, but we'll be happy to.
Well, that's
we'll
what
be
I said.
happy
I
to.
probably forgot. I probably got it.
We'll be happy to provide that information again.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is that if we're doing it ourselves, I guess we feel like we learned a lot last year as far as communicating, and we're in a good position to just manage it ourselves.
In terms of recruitment,
And yeah, in terms of communicating to the community, these things, yeah,
Oh.
recruitment, yes, in terms of
Or
recruitment.
what forms of communication that you
Yeah.
plan on using to like get
Ms.
it out,
Temple,
other than?
are you through? Did
She's
you have
still-
an-
Yeah.
yeah,
She's
she just
still
wanted to
talking.
know the forms of
Okay.
communication, I believe. So it goes back to Ms. Wonkum's question, correct? I'm
It
not
does.
mistaken.
We'll do the same forms, whether that's social media, whether that's on our website, video, all those things that we'll still continue to do. But I'll get you that data from the results of when we had the marketing company is what you're referring to.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, I probably forgot, because there's a lot of information goes through, but I just didn't remember the results of that. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, Ms. West?
Going back to the slide on the school choice option, for the parents that's requesting a school in the North Little Rock School District but live outside of the boundaries, such as Little Rock, Sherwood, Maumelle, Jacksonville, etc. So they can utilize that application as far as school choice. So how do they get to school if transportation is not provided? So say they get accepted to North Little Rock, and that's where this particular student wants to go. How do they get to school?
They would have, their parents would have to provide it.
What if, say, mom is sick that week? They just said, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, like, can they do, I thought that, like, you could utilize, like, a, or is that M2M strictly where they provide transportation?
I'm not for sure. I would have to follow up. I don't know what MTM is.
Majority to minority, or minority to majority, or something like that. That's something that's totally different, I do believe, than this particular option. But if transportation do become a barrier, so I guess that would probably, wouldn't that be like a, I don't know, that would probably be like an attendance, run into an attendance issue if they can't get to school, with that being the school choice option, huh? Okay.
Oh, were there other comments on that?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Uh-huh.
Angela, I think also depending on their age, so like if we did this Rock Metro, they'd be able to utilize the bus system, so that would help. But in addition to that, and kind of piggybacking on what Ms. Redis said, depending on their age also, and I know you're going to look into this, but AAA rules come into play also regarding redshirting. I think you have to set out a year. And I was shocked to learn that that applies to our cheerleaders as well. Because I've got some students over in Little Rock that want to come over, but because they're cheerleaders, they have to sit out a whole year. And I'm just astounded by that. So,
yeah,
I mean,
I was surprised by that too.
I know. So, and I can see that with like basketball and football, baseball, okay, but at the same time, I'm like, really? And cheerleading is a sport, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
We rock that. As far as state finals, baby, we got you. That's why they want to come to us.
Right.
But sitting out a year, I hate that. But that's where AAA rules come into play, and that's a whole nother Pandora's box. That right there. So I don't know if we want to take on the AAA. I'm all for it. You know, I don't back down, but at the same time, that's a whole nother beast of itself. So,
Yeah, that needs.
and then the waivers, and we all remember Nick
Yeah.
Smith and the way all that went down. And
In my opinion, that needs to change, but that's not for today. But.
right. So yeah, all right. So anyway,
All right.
But yeah, I was just concerned, how would they get to school on this particular option? So, got you.
yeah.
It's
I
the
just had
parents'
a-
choice.
Correct.
It's the parents' choice. If they want to come, they'll provide the transportation.
Correct.
We're no longer in the segregation part where we used to have to provide transportation for school choice. That's out. We lost all that desegregation money for that. So now if a parent want to come, as she stated, and it's clearly stated, you'll have to provide your own transportation because the district cannot afford it. We have other things to do. Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment to thank whoever thought to take and put the link on that, because I literally went through the application process.
And that was
with
Mr. Stone. He helped me with
and
this
there's a
presentation.
link
So.
on there, because had no clue what the difference was from school choice and opportunity choice. And that's one of the questions. And the parent asked me, and I'm like, I don't know. But I saw the link, so thank you.
And we'll also have this on our parent night that Ms. Crystal Barker presents every Monday. So we will have this, I believe, on the 30th, if I have my date right, but it'll be presented.
Okay, Mrs.
I'm so sorry, but in addition, because again, we're trying to get more students in, and then I'm just thinking the domino effect, because then we're also talking about the student calendar, talking about possibly, maybe not, but if we start in July, if we change our dates around, if we change year-round, anyway, all that comes in effect. So it's just something for us board members to also consider. If we change the calendar, that will also, again, domino affect our student enrollment of who comes in and who leaves us, things of that nature. So I'm just thinking, again, big picture, domino effect of what that would entail. And that leads segue. Have we sent out a survey yet on that calendar?
We-
I know, I'm
we-
sorry. My brain
we-
is just.
We have not. We will meet with the LPPC and CPPC early next week first to answer some of their questions.
Okay.
And then by Wednesday of next week, we'll be sending that out to our parents.
Okay.
Again, just comment.
That's another discussion about the calendar, okay? But want to say, we appreciate your
Yeah, great presentation.
excellent report. You explained everything in detail. And I was just wondering, this is not on our website?
It is.
School choice.
That's what
Yes.
I'm saying.
School choice
I
is-
keep
it is.
hearing people, I
It
know
is.
because I saw it. I keep hearing the board members talking about how can we get it out there? If it's on the web, it's already there. And a lot of people, as you say, don't read or go to the web. So therefore, that's why you have to provide other choices. So whatever you come up with, I guess you can bring it back to the board, okay? And thank you for coming, and thank you. Would you like to talk or say anything?
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be
Tell
here.
us about yourself.
Welcome to North Little Rock.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hooper and Dr.
She cut
Stoll,
you right on off.
for you all's report. You gave us compliments. Well, we can compliment you on this report. It's very well put together, okay?
Well done.
And thank you.
Thanks, team.
You can go. Before, the next person, Mr. Quinn, right?
Correct.
Before Mr. Quinn comes, he will have 30 minutes coming to us, and we'll be out of here at 7. So if you need to go get your water or something, we can take a quick break to go get that, okay? Otherwise, we will sit through this because it is dealing with board governance. So anybody need to be excused at this time. If not, Dr. Quinn, you may come.
Good evening.
Good
Happy
evening.
New Year.
Thank you.
I will be brief, and we will be done at 7. Is this on? Yeah.
Yes.
I would start tonight, and I want to talk about that, but the past 45 minutes is like a classic what a school board does that in some ways people don't understand. You had an innovative program to, as you said, give kids more opportunities by knocking down a barricade. So you have an innovative program with the transportation system. Then all school boards are HVAC experts. I guess it's because HVAC systems wear out long before buildings wear out, but you had a big HVAC decision. And then a school choice conversation, which I think is rather interesting right now because there's a lot of news coverage in Arkansas about school choice. There's a lot of speculation that this is going to be a big topic during the legislative session. And yet most people don't understand like all of those choice options that you just walked through and sort of the complexity of the decision-making process. We have a rather robust choice program in Arkansas right now, but again, I think many of your constituents don't necessarily understand that. So an innovative local program with the buses, HVAC repair, and choice. It's just, I think that was an interesting like 45 minutes of sort of a classic example of what a school board really does versus sometimes what people think you really do. So I was just struck sitting there listening to that. Hope you all had a great holiday. I thought we might begin tonight because we're going to be much briefer tonight than we have been in the previous 2 sessions. But thoughts on the past 2 sessions, like when I was on a school board, I would always have this moment driving home in the peace and quiet of the car, like things that would stay with me from a particular evening or meeting. And I'd just be curious, was it productive? Was it the conversation what you had hoped for? And what stayed with you? Any thoughts?
Are we going any particular, just jump out there? Yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed the previous conversations, but I have really looked at the fact of just the cohesiveness and what we can do as far as the discussion to make things work as far as on a collaborative type level.
Good, which is sort of what, and do you think we're getting there?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Any other sort of thoughts on where we were the past 2 sessions?
I can remember when we first started and I was asking about governance, and then I went to the Arkansas School Board Association conference back in December, and every time I turned around, there was that word governance in every session, and it was talked about a lot. So I'm on board with governance for sure. So
Yeah, and I think there's an awareness at the school board community and the conference you're referencing. I mean, I think there's an awareness that you're changing some things here. And you have a new superintendent, or I guess you're not new anymore. We can't call you new anymore. But you're doing things differently. You're engaged. You're plugged into the community. I'm excited about 2023 for this district and this board and this superintendent as we start to bring you pieces of the long-term strategic plan, as we refresh the brand, as we come out with an updated district crest, just some different branding things that, again, as I sort of connect A to B to C, you have the day coming up, I guess, on January the 28th, where you sort of have a show and tell, like to show parents what the district is all about. And I think we're better positioning ourselves for things like that in the coming year as we sort of position ourselves to show updated brand. And I think the thing that's really important is the long-term strategic plan. You're willing to put numbers out there, data, metrics out there to say, this is where we are and this is where we want to be. And I think that's huge. And I think people in the education community in Arkansas are noticing that. And I think that's really important that you're being very transparent as you work your way through these issues. So I'm excited about 2023, and I'm excited about some of the next step things that we are going to bring you. And again, I think it was really a nice way to wrap up the year that you were recognized by the School Board Association and people are paying attention, because you had challenges and you said, let's do things differently than we used to. So good for you. And again, I think a lot of good things are happening. Again, I'm going to try to be brief tonight. I will be brief. We'll be done by 7. Do fewer slides tonight than we have done in the previous sessions. Again, coherence is a word. And from the book, in order for boards to be part of system-wide coherence, they must first experience internal coherence within their own board. And this turns out to be a tall order. But again, as an outsider, but as someone who's gotten to know you, I feel the coherence in this room. You know, we talked last time about some of the incidents and events and so forth that were making big news, that were making the 6 o'clock live news vans out front as you started to go into your meeting. And again, I think tonight's an example of nice and routine. New HVAC, a new agreement with bus transportation, and then a thoughtful look at what choice really is, and a reminder that parents really do have choice. And the other thing, the point in the presentation, that choice leads directly into our desire to grow the population of the district. So it feels coherent to me, and again, it feels like a lot of the emotion has sort of been put aside, and you're just effectively doing the work of being a board. I also feel the trust in this room, and this is from the book. When people trust each other, they can be more adaptable and open. They can think long term. When there is trust in the room, people are inclined to collaborate and open up. And I think, and then when things don't work, if you trust each other, you feel free to try. And again, if something doesn't work, and again, I think these are sort of this is one of the core fundamental points that's referenced in the book. And I think we've also talked about in the previous sessions what damages coherence is micromanagement. Which I really think this board has shifted away from. I think you hired a superintendent that you felt trust in, and I almost think in a really healthy way, the micromanagement sort of evaporated. And then you thought, you know the line, I come back to this line, you hire one person, he hires thousands, and I think that's how you're operating now, and I think the micromanagement has sort of evaporated, which I think is a healthy thing. I also don't, representing a special interest group, I don't hear that when I watch your meetings. Having someone who comes on a board with just one agenda, confidentiality discussions, or reacting poorly when a vote doesn't go your way. I think, again, this is a very different place than this board used to be. And I feel like again, we've spent a lot of time the past two sessions on this stuff, so I'm just going to do briefly tonight, kind of a touch base, and I know you were going to get out of here. I'm assuming we feel pretty good about the trust level right now?
Yes,
Much better than where it was. Much better. We've
much
all-
better.
Yes.
I trust, yes. Do you feel that the board trust levels is where you wanted me to be? We trust each other. I trust him.
I would acknowledge everyone up here at the grocery store.
Right.
Well, gee, thanks.
We're in the past. I mean, like,
All right. We do.
So I would say hello to any and all, and yes, trust is much better today than
Yeah.
where we started. So yes.
It started when you had your workshop, and you were talking about the importance of boards coming together. You remember that in the summertime? That you initiated that. And it's sort of like grown, trying to get trust to superintendent, and that the superintendent be able to trust us, and not going behind his back, backstabbing him.
Yeah. And
Back to that micromanage. It's been removed.
micromanage and not surprising each other. Again, using tonight the three issues, which are all on their own kind of big issues, you know, a big repair job, a unique community program, and then choice. I don't feel anybody feels surprised or whatever, because surprise is not, whether it's in our personal or professional relationships, it's not really what any of us want. But again, I just wanted to spend most of this few minutes tonight touching base with you that kind of we're going where you want this to go. And again, I'm really excited about the long-term strategic plan and some of the other elements where we can, and I also think we're approaching a logical inflection point where, you know, rolling out more of this to the community. And I love the January 28th event you have coming up, because I really think you have a better story to tell. And it's a story about a district that is shifting how you think and being transparent about the dynamics. This theme was in the book, and when I was a school board member, this struck me a lot. You know, you get the newsletters or articles from both state and national organizations, what you should think about being a school board member, and a bunch of it is what you should not do, which I think gets a little old, because actually you're here for a reason, because you care about your kids and you care about your community and you care about this district. So it should be about, well, what should you do? And it's easy to say over and over, you know, don't talk about executive session with your neighbors or family, and you get that drumbeat a lot. But I think why you're here doesn't, sometimes in the materials you get, it's almost like a lecturing tone. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. But the problem with the limited definition of policy, it tends to ignore the ongoing meeting-to-meeting work of the board. And the other complexity of being on a board is it takes a while to get in a groove when you're on a board, that everything you talk about has to be done here in public. And it's really different than most other aspects of your life. If you and your spouse or a family member have a decision to make, that's generally kind of a quiet conversation with a limited number of people. But in here, everything has to be done in a transparent fashion. And I think it takes a while to sort of get in a groove with that and adjust to that when you come onto the board. This is just, again, some stuff we've covered: strategic direction, ongoing policy, visible support for the district, oversight and accountability, and community leadership. As we look ahead to 2023, I think community leadership will be more part of what we talk about, because we're ready again with the strategic plan and the rebranding and so forth, and looking at some stuff we've talked about in the past couple of years. What can we do to make sure we understand who a typical graduate is, the understanding that every graduate is different, and just sort of all of that. I think this will be a good year to move on to that. Tools, discussion meetings, work sessions, policy handbook, self-evaluations, continuing education, conferences that show you what the rest of the country or state is doing. And I think conferences can show you like, well, we want to do that and we don't want to do that. I think it's fairly healthy to look at what has worked or not worked in other parts of the state or the country. And then the superintendent annual evaluation, which is certainly a part of all of this, because a high-performing board, you know, it's clear to the superintendent and it's clear to you what you expect of him in the coming year. And if that's clear, it's actually quite easy at the end of the year to do an evaluation. I think in a situation that's not healthy, you have surprise at the end of the year at the superintendent going, well, I don't know you expected that, and the board going, well, yeah, of course we expected that. But I think a high-functioning board now, I think you're in a much better position that the evaluation process is both easy and routine for you and the superintendent.
Mr. Quinn, my basic concern, how does the board, there's a process, the board self-evaluation of us. We haven't done that, having a self-evaluation for us. We evaluate the superintendent, but I think it's something important that we do need to do to keep us on task. So,
Right, and I think we're doing some of that right here, kind of having this type of conversation that maybe in previous years did not happen. You know, we had done like some Saturday sessions when I was getting to know you, which, again, out of respect for your time, we're trying to do these like Thursday night gatherings. But I think reading the book, having this type of conversation is a type of self-evaluation that I think you're all being pretty introspective about how this board functions right now. I actually think you are doing some self-evaluation. Obviously, at the end of the year, when you evaluate the superintendent's contract and his deliverables to you, that's a more formal process. But I do see in the very comfortable nature of the discussions we're having, I feel like you are doing some self-evaluation.
Okay.
There are several options: governance, handbooks, policy. We talked about the moral imperative earlier this year, the superintendent responsibilities, description of board duties, protocols, strategic plans. You know, when you, like on a night like tonight, when you're calling up different policies or pieces of the agenda, I mean, all of that's going into your policy ongoing document. Some districts do that different ways. Some districts once a year or even once every 2 years have a senior person on the staff work with the district attorney to really crawl through each policy and bring you a yellow highlighted what elements of each policy should change. Some districts did a lot of that with the advent of cell phones and the days when we used to think that all of us were going to have both a personal Facebook page and a professional, and, you know, we didn't know, look like you know, I'm talking way back, or maybe it wasn't that far ago, like, you know, should kids or teachers bring phones to school, and what are the digital policies? But again, I think how you keep current with policy is something you can figure out and decide how formal you want to be with a policy discussion once a year. I'm gonna stop with this slide. I know it's late and you've had other things tonight. What tools you have already done. I think the superintendent was really intentional about the 100-day plan, and I think that sent a message to the board, to the staff, and to the community. Hey, we're gonna be really more thoughtful about putting things on paper and saying to the community, this is what we owe. This is what we owe you. I think that was a great start. We continue to work on the long-term strategic plan, mission statement we're working on, vision. The curriculum audit was a kind of a fascinating document that said there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, I don't want to sound overly optimistic that everything's fixed, but the curriculum audit was certainly a document that said there's a long way to go. And I think school board work sessions, we're trying to maximize your time with what I've been asked to do, and I think that's, you're busy people, you have families and you have jobs, and we're not going to say, hey, can you give us a whole Saturday? I think the superintendent has sort of been very thoughtful about saying, well, let's do this on Thursday night, and we're going to do touch base on an ongoing basis and bring you the strategic plan. So I'm going to stop there for tonight because I know you had other items on the agenda, and just wanted to really touch base with you on, is this going where you hoped it would, and is it healthy?
Well, Dr. Quinn, The things is what tools Norfolk already put in place. We've already done these things, and that's a sign of great growth for us. And with you coming all the time, like you doing, it's sort of like a revival that keeps us constantly conscious of where we need to be or where we're going, and keep us growing as a board. And I really like the segments, rather than you trying to do everything at one time, and to ask us questions. How do you feel about it? Is it happening? I can say, being very honest, you have, I think by you coming, Dr. Pelosi, having you coming to us like this, we all need to be reminded of what we're supposed to be doing occasionally. We may say we know the job, but not doing the job. Now with you coming to us, we are constantly being held. This is where our accountability comes in. And like the superintendent here, very fine person. He's smart, astute, and intelligent, but he's not a micromanager. He involves the board, let us know what's going on. And that's what makes the board feel good, because we feel like a team, because he's involving us in everything that's going on in the district. So that's the difference.
That's a great closer. You just said that very nicely. And look, the other thing, like, there's a lot of consultants a school board can hire that could bring you many, many more slides, and much more complicated slides than I do. But I think what I bring is I used to be a school board member. And I know that some nights you rush in here from a busy day and you're hungry and you're like, oh, I'm a little tired, and I wanted to watch that TV show and whatever. But I know that I know, like, you tour schools and you do things and you have sort of schedules, and I know you spend time probably being asked questions from people in the community or your friends or your neighbors or whatever, and sometimes they're not happy, but I know it takes a certain amount of patience to sort of convey to them what is really happening. I know there's like this sort of like the choice slides tonight. People do have a choice. And I also know the reality of being on a school board to a certain extent. You know, people say, well, I want to understand better what's happening. But, you know, the reality is most people don't take the time to go to meetings or to sort of really go to the webpage, you know. And I know that's hard as a school board member. And as I said a long time ago when we started together, you know, you're a school board member, unlike quorum court members or city council members, you have no stipend. You're doing this because you care about your community. So, Madam President, you summed up very nicely. I'm going to keep it short tonight, and thank you again for letting me be a part of this. And I really am excited. We're diving back into some of the data with the long-term strategic plan, and then I'm encouraging the superintendent that we really sort of be intentional about how we roll that out to the community. So I think you're coming off a really good year, and I hope we can have another really good year. So thank you.
And
Happy
thank
New
you.
Year.
Thank you.
Would you all have any, board members, did you all have anything you would like to say to Mr. Quinn before he departs?
Good job.
You'll be facilitating February, correct?
Right.
You'll be facilitating February, correct? Our board, okay.
Yes, we put it on, unless we have like an overpacked agenda where, you know, but I think to the point is we're trying to do this, and to Ms. Williams' point, do it in small doses so we don't have to spend a whole Saturday or, and I think to your point, Ms. Williams, that having Mr. Quinn and keeping us focused on why we're here in governance is a good reminder of why we're here, what we're here for, and how
Right.
we're getting better at governing
We
collectively.
are. And thank you for your services.
Thank you.
This is good. Is there any, Dr.
Put on my
Pelosi?
calendar right now.
Please, anything else?
No, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, out there in the audience, tech, this is a closeout of our workshop this evening, and we hope to have a phenomenal weekend.
Thank you.